Hi everyone, Raquel here from scrapcosy. Today I'm going to show you how I created this art journal page. I used my new stamps and stencils that I designed for PaperArtsy in the July 2018 release. I had lots of fun creating this project. It has my own do-it-yourself rust paste. Have a look and enjoy! But first let's have a look at the products that I've designed this time. 4 sets of stamps and 4 of stencils. These are the stamps. ESC13 are 2 collage and a lace. Then we have ESC14, which is a tea set with flowers and a butterfly. And then ESC15 is like postage collage and then some other collage over there. And my favorite quote, which is keep calm and drink tea. And on its side, you can see a few words written there like name, tea type, brewing time, origin, strengths, and notes. And this is because I want to create a tea journal, and that will be the main things that I will discover about each tea that I will explore. So I'll stamp these and write about them. And ESC16 contains several elements so you can create your own collage, including a tea world cloud, the tea plant, 2 mugs, and 2 laces. Well, you'll see that laces are all over the place in these stamp sets. I love them very much, so I thought it would be nice to include them for you. And now let's have a look at the stencils. The first one, PS106, it's a baroque background and a lace. I like creating patterns that can actually be extended to create bigger pieces, so don't worry, they will overlap if you need to create a much bigger background than that one. Then we have PS107, which includes a very nice flower composition on the top left corner, and then 2 other elements that match that style so you can create smaller decorations. And then it also contains the words tea journal and tea time. And the other 2 are more background patterns and textures. PS108 is 3 different patterns that again you can extend and repeat as much as you need. And PS105 has a word cloud of teas, so you can use that with grunge paste or any other thing that you want, like ink as well would look nice. And also it has a crackle background, so you can use that to create texture as you want, either with grunge paste or perhaps you can apply some Versamark ink and then emboss in clear and protect your surface but create very nice crackles which you can then ink. If you want to see what I mean, you can go to my blog and check it out. It will be very nice, you'll see. And now let's start with today's project, which is an art journal about tea. So these are previous projects that I made on this journal. You have videos on them. I'll link them below and on the different cards of this video so you can follow them up. So I'm starting there by choosing 2 new pages. And I'm going to put some Fresco Paint acrylic on top of it to cover the main images, which I don't like. I mean, I don't like them for this project because they are cute anyway, but not for the one that I have in mind. So I'm going to apply more paint on those, and I will leave less paint on the rest, which are the letters, because they will anyway add some depth to my background. Fresco acrylic paints have chalk on it, so basically they are like a gesso itself. So you don't need to actually apply gesso on your surface, you just need to paint and that's it. Once it's dry, I'm going to start stamping, and I'm going to use archival, and I will use that lace from the very first set you've seen. It's a bit difficult to stamp here, so I will just try to finish my stamping manually. It's not ideal, but that's okay. And anyway, you'll see that at the end of the video it's kind of a bit covered, so that's okay, don't worry. It's just for me to have a base. And now I'm going to start stamping that tea cloud. So I'm stamping it here and there, again to add some depth and another layer onto my project. And I'm sticking to the same color of ink. My next step will be adding another layer on a different way, this time with infusions. I'm going to apply 2 colors, Golden Sands and Rusticar. These are 2 of my favorites, especially Golden Sands. So I'm just spritzing some water and letting it react. I will blob the excess with the paper towel, so I will get more subtle effect. Just a hint of color here and there. And I'm making sure that it's completely dry I could have used the heat tool if I wanted to keep all that color. And now I'm going to apply some stenciling. I'm using that flower corner to put it on the corner. And then I'm applying lots of ink. I'm going to get there like a shadow effect, a bump effect, okay? And then with this other stencil, I'm just going to apply random baroque here and there with ink. And although I will be using the same supplies for both of them, I will get different results. You'll see. Now I'm using the grunge paste with the first stencil, and what I'm doing is placing it exactly where it was and offset it up and left, okay? Up and left. And that makes that my shadow will be down and right. So I'm just applying grunge paste on that position, and you will see that when I remove it, you get that shadow. I just need to apply a lot of it, and it was a bit dry, so when I was passing over and over, I was removing a little bit. But just take your time. And please, if your grunge paste is dry, don't throw it away. Just add water and mix it carefully, okay? It will survive. Now I'm doing the same with the word tea time. I'm applying ink, and then I'm offsetting it and applying grunge paste. So up and left to create my shadow down and right. It's very fun to do this technique. And once you lift it, perfect, you have the shadow. In these ones, instead, I'm going to apply it exactly what it was, but I'm not going to cover the entire image, just a little bit. And that will give me like an aged look, like distressed. And I'm going to repeat it all over the page. So if you didn't get what I mean, you'll see it now in the different examples. So just apply a little bit. So part of the image is inked, and part of the image is with grunge paste. I really like to complete the stenciled image with different mediums, because then you get that feeling, which is a bit, well, aged or distressed. So you could have done instead with a different ink. For instance, an oxide applied partially would get similar result, but here we also are adding dimension with the grunge paste, which I like very much, because then your project has a different touch. So I mean, it's a bit more interactive, basically. You can touch it and feel it, and I like that. So now I'm going to tint that lace, which is completely white. By the way, I scanned that lace, and it's part of one of the sets. You'll see that. I'm tinting it with a tea, but because it was not very intense, I added some Infusions Golden Sands. And now I'm going to stamp my images in a piece of smoothie card paper. So I'm just stamping with some archival ink. And I will stamp everything that you have seen in the picture at the beginning of the video, and even a bit more, because I'm not sure exactly of what the final design is going to be at this stage. So I'm basically creating my own ephemera, if you want to call it that way, because I'm going to cut all the images once I finish. So there I have also my postage stamps, which I love very much. And what I'm going to do is going to mix some satin glaze with different Infusions colors and color my images. And I'm starting with Rustic Car. That's like an orange, very light. So I've applied very little Infusions and more satin glaze. And I mix it very, very well so the walnut gets dissolved. Now I'm swapping to the next color, which is Sunset Beach, which is a red. But again, I'm putting very little Infusions. So as you can see, I get a soft pink. And I'm using that for all my china elements, including that milk jug, which I'm not going to use at the very end. But well, I'm just making sure that I paint everything, basically. And every time that I use a color in a main image or a big image, like later I will use the butterfly as well, I'm going to use that color too in the postage stamps, just to make sure that everything hangs together and it's in the same tone and in the same colors. And I'm not being very careful on going through the lines because I'm going to cut out everything. here I'm adding little touches of color, and I'll swap to a different one. So now I'm going to apply just white. So I cleaned my brush and I'm putting white on the flowers that I want to keep white. And by white, I actually mean that I'm applying some satin glaze, no infusions, so no color, because I'm going to do a wash at the end and I don't want them to be covered. And now I'm mixing the blue. I don't know why, but these butterflies, I see them blue all the time. So I'm going to paint them blue there, and also the one that appears on the postage. And that cheap postage stamp as well. And I'm mixing a little bit of the red that I had there with that blue to kind of achieve a purple. It's very, very subtle. You will not be able to appreciate it, but there it is. And now the green. I'm using olive tree. If you want to know all the list of supplies that I used, I will link them in my video below. And I'll try also to put them in my blog at some point, okay? And here I'm painting all the leaves and different details. Even if they have ink, I like to cover everything. Now I'm mixing water with some golden sands and I'm applying brush strokes on top of my surface. And if you see, some of the flowers that I kept white are actually white because they are doing a resist. And now everything needs to be cut. So I've cut it. And I've also cut that from the video because it was too long, okay? So now I'm going to edge all the edges of the different cut images with some Distress ink, the regular one, vintage photo, okay? This step is very important for me and it really makes a difference with a cutout image that is just plain or if you add this touch. And there are different reasons. One, with that ink, if you apply it to the borders, you're making sure that your borders are not white. So if you cut a little bit more the edge of the ink and it turned out that, well, you cut it too much, then you're adding a little bit more of that brown there. Then another reason for that is that you're edging it. So if you wanted a vintage touch to your ephemera, by applying that ink, you're getting it. And then the other reason is that if you add shadow to the edges of an image, you are also adding some sort of volume. And it really makes a difference, trust me. Okay, for that teapot, I'm going to cut that white part because that part of the teapot is going to be outside my journal page. I can go ahead and cut directly. So I don't need to cut the whole kind of with an X-Acto knife as I did for my cup. But here I can just do a cut because I don't want to keep the whole thing. You will see that I'll cut it later. And then I repeat the same, adding ink on all the edges, so then I get that finish. I really like these stamps. Creating your own ephemera, it's great because then I don't feel sorry for using any postage stamps that I have, because I can stamp as many as I want and keep them forever. So I like that collage very much. Now I'm adding ink also to the edges of the page to achieve similar effect, vintage look and also finished touches, and to bring your eye to the center of the composition. And then it will be time to sticking everything in place. Before that, I wanted to kind of add some shadow on that corner to apply the lace, but you'll see that I will go for a different solution at the end of the video. So to stick everything together, I'm going to use Collage Medium, the one by Tim Holtz, but you can use any glue or Mod Podge would work as well. I like those sort of glues because they are very quick in drying and I don't need to wait, and my images stay put very quickly, so that's good. So I'm applying that there, everywhere, making sure that it gets in contact with my page. And if for some reason it's already dry in some parts, then I'll apply underneath and press again. It really dries really quickly. Very good. I'll put a link if you want to get it from Amazon or somewhere. Okay? And the same there. And now with that gel medium, I'm going to apply with Infusions to create my own tea-like color. So I'm mixing two colors again, rustic car and golden sands. And then I'll use that mix to create like a little tea, and it's coming down from the teapot to the cup. And it's translucent, so you can see the background through. Not that it's covering a lot, but now I'll stick the rest of the elements to the page. I've skipped a few steps just because they were out of page. I mean, I don't know why, but this art journal was occupying my whole screen, so I couldn't capture absolutely everything. But well, it's just sticking into place, so you know how it's done. Now that you've seen how the saucer, how the cup and the teapot was stick there. And then now I'm cutting the excess, so whatever is outside my journal page, I'm cutting it out. Okay. And now I'm going to decide where I put my title. Since I was not sure, I decided to stamp it in a piece of paper, and then once it's clear, I'm going to stamp. And then I don't need to just risk it. I can more or less have the feeling of how it will look. Now what I'm going to do is decorating that corner, and I'm going to create my own rust paste. So I'm going to use chocolate pudding Fresco paint with a little bit of grunge paste, and then I'll add some texture on it, so then it has some granules. So I'm adding some tea, just tea leaves from that English breakfast tea that it's very cut into very little pieces. So that will be my first texture for the main background color, because I'm going to use different colors to create rust. If you work with rust paste, you know that you need, well, a minimum of 3 probably. So I'm using a brown, then I'll use an orange, and then a yellow. So first the brown, I'm applying it with a spatula, and now with some brush. I'm starting with a big brush, and then I'm applying also to the bottom. You don't see it very well because it was a bit out of camera, but there and all the bottom of my page. Okay, you'll see the pictures at the end on how it looks like. But basically the idea is to paint everything, and then you are adding texture because of the tea that we added. And then I'll move on to the next color. I'm using Autumn Fire, and then I'm using as well some copper. And now I'm putting some sand from the beach. I don't know from which beach I got it. Maybe it was from Seychelles, I'm not sure. So there it is, I'm mixing it. And then because I'm applying also grunge paste, the color lightens a little bit, so I'm applying a little bit more. So more drops of copper and Autumn Fire. And I'm mixing it very well. I wanted to do this rust paste for a long time, and I didn't know where to start. I was thinking of only using the sand, but then I saw Heather, well, I'll link to her video below, that she did one herself in a different way, different recipe, but I thought, okay, if she can do one, why I cannot invent my own recipe there? So I decided to create this rust paste, and it works okay. So with a medium brush, now I'm applying the orange. As you can see, it's little strokes, and you don't need to cover everything, just a little bit. And once I'm happy with that orange, then I'll move on to the next color, which is the yellow. And I will use butternut soup, it's called, I think. So some pumpkin soup, sorry, yeah, pumpkin soup. So I'm going to use some sand again, grunge paste, and that color from Fresco acrylic paint, and some gold as well. So once my mix is fine, then I'm going to take even a thinner brush and then just apply little brush strokes. So it needs to be subtle, but it needs to be there, because I mean, if you just play with 2, yeah, the result is fine, but with 3, it's even better. And here are some pictures, so you can see the results of how the art journal turned out. I really like that rust effect, isn't it nice? And I really liked playing with my stamps and stencils on this one because I've used many of them, so I'm very happy about it. And well, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment. I would love to read them. So thanks very much for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!